Hey there, everybody. Brian King here, and welcome to another episode of The Compassionate Dad. Today, I have Sean Douglas with me, who is a total rock star, and you're going to love this guy. He is a United States Air Force veteran. He's a master resilience implementer. It's a mouthful, but it's powerful and very important work. He's been all over the world, doing the military stuff. He was even a drill instructor for several years. So don't make this guy mad at you. I'll make you do push-ups. He is a podcaster. He is a presenter. He is an author. And he's also our guest for today. So without further delay, Sean Douglas, man, thanks for being on the show.
Dude, I'm super pumped, bro. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing that really caught my attention as being probably the best thing for us to focus on is the title of the book you wrote. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty straightforward. Decisions.
Pretty straightforward.
The power to overcome self-defeating behaviors.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that I am really adamant about with my kids and with my clients is you must decide. You can't be on the fence. You can't hem and haw. You can't operate from a place of self-doubt. You need to decide. You need to take action or nothing's going to change.
Right.
So tell us about what the core, the meat of that book and the meat of your message is.
The meat of my message is to take massive action. If you think small, you're going to live small. If you think big, you're going to live big. Nobody here wakes up and wants to fail. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm just going to fail at everything today. I'm going to do whatever I can. I don't even care. There's something that has happened to make them think that way. And it's usually they've been screwed over and over and over, or they just feel like they can't string enough wins together. And they're like, I'm just giving up. Like they're so emotionally defeated. And emotional intelligence is one of the most important things you can ever have. Yeah, everybody judges everybody on IQ and whatever, but I call it the EQ, right? So if your EQ is higher than your IQ, dude, you're winning. Because to be emotionally intelligent, you have to know what's going on inside you before you can fix what's going on around you. And my book is just that. My book chronicles my suicide attempt. It chronicles everything that I've ever been through and the reasons why these things happened. And it was based on I slept in my car for 4 days because I didn't have enough money to pay for my apartment for rent. I got kicked out of there and was like, well, what do I do? So I stayed in my car for 4 days until I moved in with a friend. Well, in third grade, we got kicked out of our house. We got evicted out of our house, and we had to go live with my grandparents for a couple months. But by the time that I was 18, I lived at 11 different houses and I attended 8 different schools. The life that I was being led to live by my family came to fruition when I became a young adult and was making bad decisions because that's all I knew. That's what I saw. And a lot of times our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, almost every time, our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are what drive our reactions. Mothers choose Jif. That's why that I eat Jiffy peanut butter. Nike's got just do it. So yeah, let's just do it. Like Nike's like that. That's what I wear. Like people buy things based on the 6 basic human needs, and your decisions on whatever those needs are fueled by your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs almost every time.
And one thing I found just in my own journey, and this is one of the best reframes I've heard, that when things keep knocking you down on your butt, there's 2 ways you can decide to assign meaning to that string of events. You can say, This is the universe telling me I don't deserve it, so I better just quit. Or the other way, which I prefer, is this is the universe asking me how bad I want it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why it's kicking my ass so that I get stronger, because the big stuff that you want in your current state, you are not prepared to handle that yet. You don't have the character, you don't have the skill set. But by getting up every single time and becoming stronger and learning from those hits, you become the person that can handle the weight of that responsibility. So you've got to see it as how bad do I want it?
Oh, yeah. It's resilience, man. Nobody's born resilient. So I love this research. I tell everybody about this research. There's a London cab driver research, and you can look this up. It takes between 1 and 3 years for London cab drivers to learn the roads to where they don't have to use a GPS. They just know them. So they took 20 London cab drivers and they put them off to the side, and they MRI'd their brains. The frontal cortex, the lobe that has the GPS in it, is significantly larger than everybody else. They took 20 random people, put them over here, and they MRI'd their brain. And what they found was that their job, their strength corresponds with whatever cortex, whatever lobe, whatever is in their brain. And what they found out was that everything is a learned behavior. Nobody's born loving. Nobody's born hateful. Nobody's born racist. Nobody's born independent. Nobody's born dependent. Nobody is born with survival skills. Nobody's born with, whatever. You're born into poverty. You're born into rich. You're born into circumstances, but nobody is born with these behavioral traits. Everything we do is a learned behavior. At one time, I never even knew there was podcasts out there. Guess what? Got my own radio show. You got your show. We learn, we figure things out, right? Because if we're not learning, we're not growing, we're dying. And so this London Capillary research says that when you strengthen those areas of your brain, they become significantly larger, and we rely on those. So if all you know is fear, all you know is debt, all you know is negativity, that's what you're going to live. If you break that pattern of thought and say, I'm going to have positivity, I'm going to have whatever, and you think it and feel it and believe it, it's going to come to fruition. The mind is a powerful, powerful thing.
You remind me of a book that I read in grad school. It was one of the books for a class I was taking on child development. And the title of the book was Ghosts from the Nursery.
Okay.
And it referred to all of those demons that are still with us from how we were raised, essentially.
Yep.
And it spoke exactly to what you said. The neuroscience behind it is the more you are exposed to something, it gets hardwired in your brain. And if you're abused, if you're criticized, and you become very emotionally reactive, you got hardwiring that makes your body do that.
Do you want to get kind of like the feeling? Do you want to get the feeling of like sickness in your body, right? And have your mind absolutely blown off your shoulders?
Sure.
Look up the Stanford Project. The Stanford Project was the professor back in, I don't know the exact year, but I believe it was in the 70s or 80s. So the Stanford Project, what happened was they turned the classroom into a jail. And what happened was they said, okay, the professor is going to be the warden, and these students are going to be prisoners, and these students are going to be, the guardsmen or whatever. Okay. So for like a week or two, they had everybody, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what we, this is your roles. This is your roles. And everything was kind of okay. And then the professor said, okay, we're going to turn it up a notch. We're going to go ahead. We're going to turn it up a notch. And what happened was they said, dude, the guards started turning evil, and the prisoners started eating their own flesh, and they were deprived of sleep. And it was like, people were dying. People were getting sick. Like all of these students, like they signed this waiver. They said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But literally they were like, all right, turn up the juice. Like, let's do this. And like, they want the guards to be mean. After 4 days, the guards were beating on the guards were, these are all students. These are all Stanford students. The guards were beating on the prisoners, and the prisoners were getting so sick. They were like eating their own flesh, and they were fighting with each other. And then they said, okay, switch. And then they had to switch. And then all the mindset, it lasted like maybe 7 days, and people like they developed schizophrenia. They became like these freaks that, dude, I was like, no, wait, like this research that led me, it's called the Stanford Project. Dude, I was so blown away.
And this was allowed to happen?
This was allowed to happen. And then the professor and the school stopped it because the professor, the warden, started joining in on the beating of students. And they were like, okay, I'm done. What it showed is that anybody can be evil. Anybody can be evil, but it's in that environment that breeds that evil. Just like the prisoners didn't know what to do. The students, they didn't know what to do. They didn't have the survival skills. So the ones that developed survival skills thrived in that environment. The ones that didn't have survival skills started eating their flesh. They started going crazy. They started like freaking out, becoming schizophrenic, and like, dude, like a horror, bro, the Stanford Project, man. Like I do all kinds of research. It blew my mind.
My main response to that is, thank God I never applied to attend Stanford. Because
I don't want that study.
If this is the kind of crap they're doing, man,
Yeah, this was way back, like years ago. But it just goes to show that there is significant amount of research that says that everything we do is a learned behavior. I look at everything going on in the world and I look and say, where are they from? What environment did they come from? Everybody says, oh, I'm not a product of my circumstances. I'm not a product of my environment. Yes, you are.
Oh, yeah,
we're all a product of my decisions. Bullcrap.
We're all raised in a vacuum, and everything that I've learned.
Anybody who says I'm not a product of my environment and my circumstances, you absolutely are. But you are free to make any decision that you want. You're not free from the consequences of the decisions that you've made. And a lot of people don't want the consequences, whether it be physical or emotional consequences. They don't want them. They make all these decisions, and then they go, "Oh well, I don't know what to do," and they don't have any survival skills.
There is no cause without an effect.
Boom.
Every belief, every action has a consequence, period. Now, somebody who's listening in here has an awesome question, and I know darn well you and I will have a lot to tell her. Melissa says that she asks, how do you change what damaged you as a child? She said her mother was a narcissist. She internalized a lot of abuse for years, and she still fights the feelings and thoughts on how to unlearn this stuff. You know?
Yeah.
So let me chime in that. Thank you, Melissa, for being so vulnerable and putting that out there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
This is going to be a wonderful learning opportunity for everybody that's watching.
Yep. Absolutely. So you want to go ahead and answer, or do you?
Yeah, let me hit this first.
Yep.
My dad has Asperger's. My mom has ADHD.
Oh, wow.
Okay. My dad was verbally abusive to me, primarily because I was the one that just took it and didn't fight back. He would humiliate me for a laugh and think nothing about it. My mom was smothering. I was completely dependent. I didn't know how to think for myself. Then when I reached 18, I was diagnosed with cancer. I spent the summer in chemotherapy. My friends stopped talking to me. My family would yell at me or yell at each other. They didn't know how to handle it. I had so much shame from all that, feeling like I was worthless. I was depressed to the point where I almost committed suicide, but thank goodness I didn't. And I somehow, from all of that, from having my values, my identity, and everything collapse, I had to rebuild that. And here's what I essentially discovered, Melissa, is when you realize the feelings and the thoughts you have are causing you suffering to the point that it's holding you back, you need to first identify, what do you want to feel and experience instead? Do you want to feel self-worth? Do you want to feel happiness? Do you want to have an experience of grace? You know, whatever it is that helps you find peace. Then you go looking for the resources that teach you that. There are people in this world that spend all day, every day, becoming better at these things. Folks like Sean and myself, we're always working on self-improvement.
Dude, I struggle every day. I struggle every day.
And we have habits to reinforce where we want to stay, right? Because every morning I exercise, I meditate, because I've got to keep my mind aware and detached from the noise that tells me I'm not good enough. Because if I were attached to it, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd feel like crap. I'd be hesitating. I'd be afraid. I wouldn't be taking any risks. There are books, Melissa. There are specialists. There are videos on YouTube. There are shows like this. So begin by studying the people that are able to feel the way you want to feel. And you start modeling their behavior. You find out what their beliefs are. And you start believing what they believe. Start with one at a time. And quickly or slowly, it depends, you will begin to experience a shift in how you think and how you feel about you. So start there. That's my 2 cents. Now, Sean, I want to hear what you've got to say about that.
Grab that right there. Grab that.
Are you having a kid moment?
Yeah. So yeah, my daughter's grabbing a book for me. So I want to show you this. I want to show you this right here. Okay. This is called The Happiness Advantage. Everybody needs to read this book. Exactly what you're talking about. It's by Sean Atcher, The Happiness Advantage. It is an amazing book. And the book is basically the 7 principles of positive psychology that fuel success and performance at work.
Dang, guess what I'm buying as soon as we're done.
It's taught at Harvard. You can put it back right where underneath.
The author's name is Sean Hatcher.
Sean Atcher, Achor. Yep, it's called The Happiness Advantage, and there's principles in there that is fact ACHOR.
ACHOR.
ACHOR. Yep.
I had dyslexia too.
That's awesome. So the best way that I could answer her question, how to unlearn, you can't unlearn it. It's already in your mind. It's always going to be a memory. The best way to do that is to disassociate the thoughts from the feelings. Remember I said thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. It's not only your thoughts and sometimes your feelings, or only sometimes your feelings and only your thoughts. It's a trifecta. Most people only in life only live by their thoughts and beliefs. And they never acknowledge the feelings. You know, I feel this way. I feel. When we're in an argument with our spouse, we're like, you. We never say, well, I feel like, and I always tell my wife, like, I feel like, she goes, I didn't do that. Well, I feel like you were personally attacking me. I'm sure that you weren't, and I'm sure that's not how you meant. I'm just telling you how I feel. I feel like you were. So, and she'll do the same thing to me. I was like, you're being like this. She goes, no, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, you are. And I'll feel myself going, you. And I have to stop. I'm like, oh, I teach people not to do that, you know. But it's a pattern, it's a thought, it's a habit that starts to form. And so we're really good about I feel like, because we take all the responsibility and put it on us and take it off of our spouses and friends and whatever, and let them know that I feel like, because it's not about the news, it's about the person. It's always about the person, never about the news. And so you can't unlearn them, but you can disassociate those feelings from those thoughts, whatever thoughts and feelings that coincide with whatever those negative habits are. And you do that by two ways. You can develop an attitude of gratitude. And there's a theory called the broaden and build theory. Barbara Fredrickson is a UNC researcher. And what the theory is called is the broaden and build theory. Barbara Fredrickson and Joyner, I forgot the guy's first name, but his last name is Joyner. In 2002, developed a theory called the broaden and build theory. It basically states that every positive feeling and thought builds on themselves, and every negative thought builds on itself. And there's a spiral going down and a spiral going up. So I call people catastrophizers. If I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, I was supposed to wake up at 6 and I have to be somewhere at 7 and I'm late. Now you're already mad. Then you don't have coffee made. So now you're even more mad. Then maybe the clothes you wanted to wear are in the washer and now you don't have those set of clothes to wear. And so you're only concentrating on those negative things and you're having all these negative thoughts. Then you get in your car and you have no gas. Now you need to stop at the gas. Oh, wait, there's traffic on the way to the gas station and you might run out. All of these negative things that happen, people dwell on those negative things. And so the positive thoughts, what they do is they buffer the day's challenges. People will pull worry from the future, and they'll pull worry and pain and hurt from the past, because the past is a place of not of residence. People live, they plant their mailbox there and say, I'm living here in this pain, and they don't want to deal with it. The second thing you have to do, besides building an attitude of gratitude, by counting blessings 3 times a day, count blessings 3 times a day. What good happened today? And then what was good about it? The second thing you need to do is develop a mindfulness technique, whatever it is. Slow breathing. Like I have what's called the Miracle Morning. There's a book, Miracle Morning, by Hal Elrod, E-L-R-O-D. Hal Elrod is the Jack Canfield of meditation. He designed a series called The Miracle Morning. There's one for Miracle Morning for parents and families, Miracle Morning for college students, Miracle Morning for entrepreneurs, Miracle Morning for, I think he's doing one for teenagers, so almost done for teenagers. And there's one just The Miracle Morning. And it's how to win the morning so that you can win the day, because it's based on that theory. If I can create enough positive energy in the morning, in the first 2 to 3 hours that I'm awake, it will create a buffer for the challenges that I'm inevitably going to face throughout the day. There's another theory, which is the white bear phenomena. The white bear phenomena basically is don't think about the polar bear, don't think about the polar bear, don't think about the polar bear, but we think about the polar bear. It's not the magic genie. It's not the green leprechaun. It's not the apple. It's literally something about white and something about bears, but it's literally called the white bear phenomena. If I told you for the next minute, I had you close your eyes and don't think about the polar bear, you would inevitably think about the polar bear. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. No, we do. We want you to think about it. And it's kind of counterintuitive. Like, what? You want me to embrace the negativity? Yes. I want you to let go of the hate, let go of the negativity and say, you know, I'm having these thoughts. Why? Why am I having these thoughts? A lot of people say, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. What are you going to do? You're going to say, I'm going to think about it. So what we want you to do is think about it, meditate. I'm like, why am I having this? Where did this come from? I guarantee you, if you get into a mindfulness technique, just closing your eyes and breathing steadily for 5 minutes and saying, okay, I'm having these thoughts. Where are they coming from? And what am I seeing? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Is my chest like caving in? Like, am I having anxiety? Why am I having anxiety? Oh, because of this thought from my mom. Okay, well, your mom is a root cause. A lot of times we never get to that root cause because something triggered us. If we can get to the root cause and if we can deal with that issue and close the door on it, you disassociate the thoughts from the feelings. I already closed the door. The door is closed for those thoughts. You're always going to have those feelings. I can walk up to somewhere where, because my stepdad was a cokehead and it was an alcoholic. My childhood was dominated by domestic violence and alcoholism. Me and my 2 sisters was physically abused, which led to suicidal ideations and attempt. And I'm a suicide survivor. So Brian, bro, virtual high five. Thank God you're still here. And that's what ultimately inside of my book, I talk about all that and hiding feelings and masking pain, you know, and that's a huge issue because nothing gets resolved. Get to the root cause. You do this 2 ways, counting blessings 3 times a day and developing a mindfulness strategy where you can meditate on the feelings that you're having. What am I seeing? What am I thinking? And what am I feeling? And when you get to the root cause, you can then deal without thoughts and feelings there. You can deal with that root cause and close the chapter and close the door. Don't carry around that grudge.
Beautiful, man. I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit too. Sure. And as I've been meditating for my adult life. One of the things I discovered through my cancer experience was mindfulness. Mm-hmm. And that's what I teach. It really helped me to, and you touched on this as you were talking about it. In the meditation experience, you learn to be an observer of the thinking as opposed to a participant. It's the difference between watching the water flow and jumping into the river.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of my mentors taught me a distinction that my mind just went boom when he said it. It was so simple. He said, when you make comments like, you know, I feel like you're attacking me, and I'm guilty of this too. He says, that's not a feeling, that's a thought. Mm-hmm. He says, a feeling is in one word: happy, sad, afraid. So when you said, I think you're judging, you know, I feel like you're judging me, he said, that's not a feeling, that's a thought.
Right.
So the question becomes then, how do I feel and what thought led to that feeling?
Exactly. Yep.
So you can see the connection between the two and realize just how you are scripting the fact that you feel like crap. Mm-hmm. There's a conversation going on that's generating all that stuff.
Yep.
So when you're practicing the meditation on the feelings coming up, and this is something I learned from a different mentor, when you're having any kind of negativity that you can't get to the bottom of it, you can't shake it, you meditate on this question: what is it wanting?
Okay.
Because anything that comes through has a need of its own. Does it need to be acknowledged? Is it because there is a need unmet and this thought coming present is telling you that you have a need that's unmet? You talked about the 6 basic needs. Mm-hmm. Maybe you've just had a hurricane come through and you've lost your need of certainty. Things are so unpredictable now, and you're worrying, oh my God, what if? And you ask, you know, what is wanting? It's wanting something it can hold on to. It's wanting something it can count on. Mm-hmm. And then you can begin looking for opportunities to get that need met. So, I mean, there are so many ways to approach this. The Miracle Morning sounds like it's a wonderful resource. Awesome. That's another thing I have to add to my list because I haven't picked that one up yet. And then there's the Happiness Advantage. That's the other book that you mentioned. And then, of course, there's your book.
Yeah.
Decision, you know, the power to overcome self-defeating behaviors. This has been a wonderful conversation, Sean. We could talk for an hour. But it all comes down to that no matter how life hits you, no matter how much it kicks your butt. I mean, Sean, I wouldn't wish your childhood on anyone.
I wouldn't either.
But what I would wish upon them is the capacity to realize they can still make choices about the direction of their life.
Absolutely.
That their history is not their destiny.
Right.
It's just kind of how it's been so far. So
right.
I want to let everybody know that there are a lot of ways to catch up with Sean online. His podcast is one, and you can find the link to all that on his website, which is the successcorps.com.
Yeah, Success Corps. Yeah, like the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Hey, so one thing about the book, the self-defeating behaviors, there's two most common self-defeating behaviors. Number two is people compare their chapter 1 to chapter 20. How come I'm not as good as Brian? We're both podcasters. How come I'm not as good as Brian? How come he has more followers than I do? How come his posts get more likes than I do? Like, you're comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. A lot of times people say, well, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Nobody's grass is as green as mine because I water the crap out of my grass. I don't worry about what's going on the other side of the fence. I water my grass. I stay in my lane. I do what's best for me and my family. I don't worry about what anybody else is doing. I have blinders on for everybody else. I make sure what I'm doing is important, and you know what I'm saying? So I don't worry about all that other stuff. And which leads to the number one self-defeating behavior is that you count other people's blessings. How come their kids are so well behaved?
Yeah.
Well,
we call that jealousy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right? So they literally will say, wow, look at that car. I really want that car. Oh, I wish I had that money. Anytime you say, I wish, you're in a self-defeating behavior thought pattern. Anytime you say, oh, I wish I had that car. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. Then make it happen. The number one rule to success, schedule everything. In 6 months, I will do this, because your mind subconsciously wants to work towards that. Number one self-defeating behavior. Stop counting other people's blessings. Count your own blessings.
Amen. And the first book, because I've written 5 books. The first book that I ever wrote is called What to Do When You're Totally Screwed.
Yes. Sounds like an awesome book.
Oh, yeah. You can get that one on Amazon. And it was,
I'm going to write that down.
And it was basically, how did I come back from my cancer experience? It talked about what I went through physically, emotionally, psychologically, and the decisions I started making to help me emerge. So, man, you are my brother from another mother. I'm telling you right now.
Seriously.
So everybody, look up Sean online. He's got some amazing things going on. He's got a dynamic story and resources and strategies for how you can have a tough life and turn it into something that looks more like a treasure than a tragedy.
Absolutely.
So, Sean,
stop dreaming about your dream life and start living your dream life now.
Amen. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. We're going to have this conversation again.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. And anybody who wants to check out the stuff I'm up to, just go to thecompassionatedad.com. Until we meet again, this has been Brian King. Have an awesome day.